Chapter 9, Non-Duality, a deep dive. Denver welcomed me back with the familiar weight of ordinary life. And within a few weeks, the magic of the experience had completely given way to the mundane rhythm I knew so well. The loneliness hit differently now, though. I had all these insights burning inside me with no outlet except for my conversations with Chris, making me feel more disconnected from everyone else than before. The complete opposite of what I really needed at that time in my life. I call Chris obsessively, seeking more depth, and he started revealing advanced principles of consciousness and energy that made me realize how little I actually knew about reality. It all boiled down to non-duality, the recognition that the sense of separation between self and everything else is an illusion. Non-duality means there's no fundamental distinction between the observer and the observed, between you and the universe, between consciousness and what it experiences. What we think of as me and everything else are actually one seamless reality appearing as many. Non-duality is the only path to enlightenment because it eliminates the very seeker who was trying to become enlightened. When you truly realize there's no separate self to improve or transcend, the entire spiritual project collapses into simple being. Suffering exists only in the story of separation. When that boundary dissolves, what's left is the natural state of awareness itself, which was never actually lost or gained. If we are always our eternal, unchanging, self-shining true being, just masked over by the mind, then there's nothing to quote unquote gain, Chris told me, since gaining implies a duality that you didn't have something before and now you do. But you did have something before. True being is always there. It's the only thing that is always there, always. It's always been there and always will be, forever before and forever after. It's what many teachers on the path mean when they say, you were never born and you will never die. They don't mean the physical body. They mean what you truly are, that which can't be harmed by anything. It has no fears, no worries, no depression. Those who embody it full time after liberation say it's the single greatest thing that's ever happened to them. At first, when I finally shifted fully to the true being, it was an overwhelming peace and love that I had only read about. But really, the mind can't even begin to predict what it feels like to experience it. Barry told me in a session once where I got a brief glimpse of my true nature and 100% peace with his help. Now I've gotten used to it. It's not as overwhelming as my intro with it. I'm more stabilized in permanent love and peace. It's my new norm now. It's always there. I literally can't even imagine what the old suffering me felt like. Chris wasn't done. He had more weapons in his arsenal to obliterate the fears and suffering I thought were permanent in my life. He started telling me that death is ultimately an illusion in this dream, or in my case at the time, this nightmare, and only the physical body dies. Non-dual philosophies like Advaita Vedanta and certain Buddhist schools teach that the ego, also called the small s self, the personality, the mind, the body mind, or the conditioned identity, is fundamentally an illusion, while the big S self refers to the soul or true nature that exists beyond it. From this understanding, what we commonly call death represents merely the end of the particular body-mind experience, not the cessation of our essential nature as consciousness. These traditions often employ the dream analogy to illustrate this point, describing the phenomenal world as Maya or illusion in Vedantic terms. Just as a dream character can be torn apart by gunfire while the dreamer remains unharmed and quietly aware, so too the death of the physical body takes place within consciousness, but it cannot touch the timeless awareness that witnesses all experiences. Taoist philosophy also presents its own understanding of transcending ordinary mortality through the concept of the immortal, or Jian. Rather than referring to physical immortality, this term typically describes a state of spiritual realization where one achieves union with the Tao, the eternal, undying principle that underlines all existence. See the common themes here? The Tao Te Ching and other Taoist texts suggest that the sage who realizes their fundamental oneness with the Tao transcends ordinary birth and death cycles, becoming identified not with the perishable body, but with the eternal Tao itself. The same is true in Christian mysticism, where Jesus spoke of eternal life and transcending death through spiritual realization. In John 11:26, he states, "And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die," pointing to a reality beyond physical mortality that can be accessed through spiritual understanding. You are literally immortal, not the lowercase y in the you, but the uppercase y you, the big you, the real self. As my studies deepen into true nature, I texted Chris one day, unable to keep the frustration and sorrow from seeping into my words. How am I supposed to see past all this Maya noise and feel good about life again? He texted back a screenshot and a quote from Adyashanti. Enlightenment is a destructive process. It has nothing to do with becoming better or being happier. Enlightenment is the crumbling away of untruth. It's seeing through the facade of pretense. It's the complete eradication of everything we imagine to be true. It's addition by subtraction, Chris followed in the next text. We wipe away all the trappings in the mind that obscure what's already here, our true being. We spend so much energy trying to acquire spiritual states, accumulate knowledge, or achieve enlightenment, when the real work is letting go of everything we think we know about ourselves and reality, Chris said. Well, that helps me exactly zero right now, I retorted. Isn't the mind just the brain's thoughts? It's more than what you think, he said. The mind, he continued, creates layers upon layers of concepts, beliefs, identities, and stories about who we are and what life really means. These mental constructs aren't just neutral whoop-de-doo thoughts. They're the very mechanism that creates the illusion of separation. Every idea we have about ourselves as a person moving through time, every belief about what we need to be happy or whole, every concept about spiritual progress, all of it forms a kind of conceptual prison that keeps us from recognizing what we actually are. To guide my understanding, he started overwhelming me with spiritual resources, quotes, books, podcasts, YouTube channels, like a supplier keeping a truth seeker perpetually high on the next revelation. The flood of spiritual material he shared, combined with my growing obsession to learn everything about this subject, meant I was neglecting the startup at my other job, work that literally made my head pound and sent me into spirals of anxiety. With the dental crown still causing relentless pain, my only relief came when I was completely immersed in these teachings. Looking back, this should have been the universe's not so subtle hint that it was part of my true calling to, in some way, realize this and then help others do the same. But I was too caught up in almost every beginner's mind-based mistake of believing that enlightenment lived in the next book, the next video, the next profound quote. I thought awakening was an intellectual achievement rather than the very letting go of all that seeking. The mind can't wake up the mind, Karen once told me. That's a powerful trick the ego pulls. It's total nonsense when you think about it. It's like trying to see your own eyes without a mirror. Of course, I had no idea about any of this at the time. Years later, during a session with Fabio, arguably one of Portugal's most enlightened men, first name only, like Cher, I learned I had been a philosopher and spiritual teacher in Atlantis who had achieved higher consciousness and psychic abilities in previous lifetimes, something several other masters confirmed. It made sense why this time around I was so drawn in so immediately and why the LCS responded with flow, reduced symptoms, and positive energy when I studied these teachings. My soul remembered what my conscious mind had forgotten for 35 years. This was my true calling and dedication.